everyone. In this video today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this really easy gingham pattern friendship bracelet. You can see on this pattern I did similar colors for the pattern, but on the original pattern the colors are pretty random, so you can do whatever colors you want. But I am going to do a sort of a similar theme to the bracelet because Christmas is coming and I thought it would be fun to make a sort of Christmas gingham pattern with red and green strands. But the pattern is so easy that you'll be able to figure out how to do this with any colors that you want. So for this bracelet, you are going to need 8 strings, and you will only need 4 colors, which means you will need 2 strings of each color. And because I am sort of doing a more traditionally gingham pattern, I am doing red and green, but I'm gonna have a light and a dark green and a light and a dark red. And this pattern actually doesn't take up very much string at all. So for this 5-inch bracelet plus longer ties at the end, I only measured about 27 for each color. So you can adjust that accordingly to the length that you want for your bracelet. So for the way I want my sort of stripes to lay out, I have my light red on the right side and then dark green, dark red, light green. But if you don't care about the color order, just have from right to left 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4. And we are working from right to left on this pattern always. And we will actually be following the same sort of pattern for every set. So this is a very quick and easy pattern to work up. And it only uses backward and forward knots, so this is a little bit more beginner / intermediate. But what we're going to do first is take our outermost right strand and we are going to do 3 backward knots on the next 3 strands. So we're knotting onto color 1, color 2, and then color 2 again. So you have your P shape, pull that through, do that twice, mess up all your strings, and there's your first full backward knot. And then we're going to pick up the next string, do a backward knot onto it, and then the third one, do another backward knot. And because we are doing sort of a candy stripe formation, I'm trying to knot in a way where it sort of goes diagonally because it is going to want to do that on its own no matter what. So I'm just kind of helping that shape form right away. And now we're going to come back to our outermost right side and pick up the second string of our first color, and we are going to do 2 backward knots onto both of the strings of our second color. So there is 1, and there's 2. And now from the right, we are going to go to our third color, which for me is going to be my dark red. So from our third color, we're going to pick up the strand on the right, and we are going to do 2 forward knots on the next 2 strings. So pick up the string next to it and do a forward knot onto it. And you don't want to pull too tight because, like I said, we are trying to make this go more slanted and not really straight across. So don't make these knots too tight. And then we are going to do our next forward knot on the second string of our first color. And now we're going to come back to the second strand of that same color, and we are going to do forward knots on the next 2 strings to the right of it. And so now we are going to come back to our first color, which from the right will be our third group of 2 strings. And you'll notice that these are the strings that we knotted with the very first time. So that's how you'll know that we're coming back to this. And you want to take your left strand of your 2 and do 2 backward knots on your 4th color. So we have our first color, pick up the string next to it, which in my case is going to be this light green color, and do backward knot onto it. And then pick up the final string on the left, do another backward knot. And then we are going to come back to the second string of our first color, and we're going to do 3 backward knots on these next 3 strands. And that is the whole pattern. So your color order will change, so that way you can have your sort of alternating stripes of color. I am going to show you guys the pattern just one more time because of the fact that the color order has changed, and because I want to show you guys a little bit more of the pattern instead of just one little stripe of it. So our color order has changed, yes, but we are still following all of the same steps. You're going to take your outermost right strand, which we'll just call this our first color again because it's just easier to remember it that way when you do a new set every time. So take this string and do 3 backward knots on the next 3 strands. So knot onto the second string of your first color and then both of the strings of your second color. So you have that P shape. Then pick up the next one, backward knot, and then the next one. And then again, you're going to come back to the very right side, pick up our second string of our first color, and do backward knots on the next 2 strands. So only onto the strings of your second color. So from the right, we are going to count to our third group. So we have our first one here, our second one, and our third. So between these 2 strings, you want to pick up the right one and do 2 forward knots on the 2 strings to the right of it. So you have that 4 shape. And there's the second one. And then pick up the second string of the same color and do 2 forward knots on the strings to the right of it again. And now from the right side, again, we are going to count to our third group. So that's 1, 2, 3. Or an easier way to think of it is to refer back to the strings that you knotted with at the beginning of the row. In our third group, we're going to pick up the left of the string and do 2 backward knots on the last 2 strings. And then come back to the second string of that same color and do 3 backward knots on these last 3 strings here. And that is another set of your stripe. And you are going to have a really cool pattern. So this is what I have so far. I'm wondering if it would actually be cool to do red and green in the same row. Like maybe a light red, a light green, dark red, dark green. I think there are so many possibilities for this pattern, and you just have 4 colors. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'm really bad at doing this, but you can follow me on my Instagram and my Bracelet book account. I post photos on both of those. My Instagram username is the same as my YouTube one, but my Bracelet book account is without the C at the end. Thank you guys so much for watching this video today, and I will see you in the next one.